Liable, basically.
Okay.
Everything else above
Will
that.
clerk please call the roll?
Okay.
Mayor Randy Burke,
Here.
Commissioner Ken Getmore,
Here.
Commissioner Darren Indovino.
Here. Present.
All right, all stand as you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is a special session of the City Council. It's time sensitive. It's about health care. So we're meeting at a regular time and a regular place for that reason. Any comments? Hey, Brian, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Ryan Allison, Benefits Advisor with Allis Acres Army, the lead advisor for City of Monett's benefits plan.
Okay. All right, comment, commissioners? Yeah.
No. Ryan's a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryan, what's your last name? I just know you as Ryan as the insurance guy.
Allison. Yeah,
Allison,
Allison.
Okay, thank you.
I'll take Ryan, the insurance guy, though.
Not when they charge by the letter, buddy.
All right, so as I understand it, the purpose of this meeting is to renew a contract with Anthem. Is that correct?
Yeah, to move forward.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ryan.
I think the main objective today is to figure out what the council would like to do as far as the medical renewal pieces go. Obviously, there's a big concern with Anthem in today's marketplace with the infighting that's going on with Mercy, and so I know a lot of the conversations, a lot of clients that we represent that are with Anthem have had the same concerns that I believe are being presented within the city for that reason. So all that to be said is that the recommendation of our agency would be to renew this contract with Anthem as is. There's a few reasons for this. The main one being that last year we moved away from United Healthcare onto an Anthem platform that's called level funded, right? So this level funded program basically acts like a pseudo self-funded plan, but it still acts very much the same as a fully insured plan where you are paying a premium set amount every single month. But then at the end of the year, we get more data on a level funded platform. We have more data that we have access to that helps us be able to look out to see what's going on. Maybe if we need to make some changes as far as what we're communicating to the employees, if we have high ER utilization, if we have certain prescription drugs that we're having issues with, so on and so forth. So we do have access to more data. The other part of this level funded platform that works to the benefit of the city is that if we are in a scenario like we are this year, where we are funding a claims bucket, right, with our premium, that again, set premium every single month, part of that goes into a claims fund bucket. And what that bucket is for is to pay claims that occur on the plan. Well, if we do not have as many claims then that we have to this bucket filled up to, whatever surplus or delta there is between the claims that were actually realized and paid versus what we had set aside or reserved in this bucket, the city would then get money back for the performance, basically. Whereas on old plans and a level funded platform, the health insurance carrier keeps 100% of that money. You don't see any of it. They're taking their cut for saying, hey, we've covered you at 100%. Where that currently lies, I'm waiting on some updated information. The last piece that we had for you guys was around $80,000, $81,000 would be what the city would get back, and that was through the end of August. So we are anticipating or estimating that by the end of the year, that surplus, as long as everything continues to run as it does now with claims, that surplus could be upwards of six figures. Could be roughly about $100,000 that the city would get back. Okay, that money does not come in the form of a credit. That money comes to you in the form of a check. So once we hit into next year, 2025, It takes a few months for all that stuff to kind of realize, make sure all the claims are closed out. We're looking probably in April, May timeframe for you guys to receive whatever surplus check that would be. So as we go ahead and think about any sort of movement away from that, this type of plan, you would be forfeiting that money as well. So that's part of the other reason that the recommendation of our agency would be to renew as is, so that that money could then be realized back to the city.
So this is the first year where we've got excess bucket, because we changed plans last year?
Last year, yep,
Okay.
yep. This is the first year on this platform, and that's what that looks like. That's part of the way Anthem or any other health insurance carrier that has a program like this kind of keeps you, kind of has their hook in you, if you will. I just like it gives a good visual because that's basically what they're doing. If you renew, then that money is then coming back to you. If you don't, then they basically keep that money, right? So that's how they keep that hook.
And we negotiated for this amount here, 67%, am I right in saying that?
That is correct. So traditionally, these plans are a 50-50 split of that surplus money. When we were negotiating with Anthem, we said, hey, why don't we see if we can get a little bit bigger piece of that pie for the city? And we're able to negotiate a 67% return on that surplus, where Anthem would keep the remaining 33%.
And as you said, renewal means that this stays in place.
That is correct.
At that rate.
That is correct. That is correct. Yeah.
And forgive me, we did not have any incentive programs for the employees as far as like a wellness program or anything like that, that if we ever instituted a wellness type of program, we could see claims decline, making that delta even larger.
Yeah, currently there's not a lot going on in the city as far as wellness goes. You know, there's a big debate whether or not true wellness programs help bring that, claims activity down and
Sure.
keep people healthier. In theory, it does.
Sure.
So yeah, going forward, the more we work with the employees on their health, whether that's through a wellness initiative or whatever, then we would definitely see that claims surplus, right? Be more. Now you can't anticipate the off disease that gets diagnosed or
Absolutely.
anything like that, but
Absolutely.
as a whole, yes, you are correct.
Do we know of that, as of August, that $80,000-ish surplus? Do we know what? Go ahead.
And I would say that surplus, the 81,000, was your 67% already configured in.
But do we know what the percentage of our total activity was? So that 81,000 represents what percentage of our input to that date? Do you know?
So I don't know that calculation today.
Okay.
I can look at what the claims fund was at.
Okay.
So is that what you're saying? What have we put into this claims fund versus
Correct.
what we'd get
Right.
back?
How
in
much
percent?
did go in? What was the percentage that we paid out?
Yeah.
Here's the remaining.
Sure.
Just looking to know, start building trending data.
Right.
If we were to stay with this, we know year one, we're paying out, let's say 80% for claims.
Yep.
Well, year two, let's say it goes down to 75%, and year three, it keeps trailing. Does that potentially equate to a rate change for us? Would that ever lower our premiums based on our claim activity?
Yeah, so the
That was the issue.
the increase that you see in front of you is mostly driven by a contract change. The city is not getting a big bump based on your experience,
Okay.
because we are running well. The city's running about 72% medical loss ratio.
Okay.
So what's that?
72.
72% last time we checked.
Okay.
So what that would mean is basically, again, those claims realized versus what you guys have paid.
Sure.
So typically, in the normal setting, a health insurance carrier would like to see that around 85% is usually the number that they like, as far as if you want to say flat, like everyone's doing well where they're still making that additional 15%, right?
Sure.
So with you guys running well below that 85% and into the low 70s, again, the plan is running extremely well.
Yeah.
And yes, if we, to your point, have all these other initiatives or these trends or things that we keep lowering that, then yes, as we go year to year, then we would be have that leverage of like, hey, we shouldn't get a bump at all.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing with groups that perform well historically over time.
Sure.
Is that it's either a, hey, we get a flat renewal, which is most of the time because these health insurance carriers also don't like giving negative renewals, but it does happen that if you can prove that, hey, we have these trends of running so well that we do believe we deserve to have a negative or a decrease in our premiums.
Yeah, I can absolutely live with a flat year,
Right.
knowing that, sure, while we might be trending lower in claims, the wild card to all of this, as we all know, is the cost of actual services
Sure.
rendered, right? So, and that's not going to go down.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah.
a flat year is, to me, extremely successful.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This is not like a complete self-funded program, but does it, for my edification, does it have a stop loss on a major claim?
It does.
So if we
And I
had,
think it's listed there. Most of the stuff's all listed at the
it's
top.
got a stop
Yes.
loss.
Yep.
Yes, for
It does,
each.
so that if, it's not like a complete self-funded plan where you have two major catastrophic deal.
Right. And I would say even when you mention a true self-funded plans still have that stop
Yeah,
loss
they do.
in
Yeah,
there.
you're
But this
right.
one has that built in as well.
It's
Okay.
100,000.
So, stop loss is the same like kind of a catastrophic,
It basically caps your liability and what then the health insurance carrier would take on top of that.
And we pay for, what's, oh, I'm having a blank here, yeah, self-insurance for the bigger claim, included in the premium.
Yep.
For that.
Correct. That's part of your kind of claims bucket in that premium being broken out.
And
Correct.
that breakdown is listed in that
And I think
table.
I did have, let me see here, I got, while we were sitting here, the claims fund for City of Monett currently sits at $206,000. So a little bit more, obviously, because we've had months since the renewal was released of what we saw the claims fund was released at.
And that's as of today?
That is as of today.
Okay.
Now, there's still some things to be closed out, I would say. But that was the most recent reporting.
210,000?
206.
206.
Thank you.
Correct. 206.
now, what I mean by catastrophic cap, what if someone is out of work and in the hospital gets hurt at work? Is there a cap on that?
It would be separate because my guess is that would be work comp. If
So
they're
that
getting
goes
hurt
into
at
the
work.
workers' comp,
Mhm.
and that's a whole different other.
That's a whole nother line coverage.
But there are, for the individual, there are out-of-pocket maximums.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, good.
Correct. And just so everyone, I mean, I know you may have not asked for this, but the main reason I mentioned again for the increase moving off of a first year on this platform to a second year is a contract change that's called a 12-12, what we were on this last year, to a 24-12. So would it help to have some education on what 12-12 to 24-12 looks like?
Sure.
Please.
So basically think of your 12-12 as your calendar year paid and incurred contract, right? Saying like we start 1/1 of 24 on this plan. The plan terminates 12/31/2024. So we have a full calendar year on this plan. That plan is a 12-12, which means it is paid and incurred within that time span, right? We have that 12-month,
Okay.
if you want to call it, avenue or whatever it looks like.
That's the claim window.
Claim window.
Yeah.
Let's say we have a claim that hits, or someone goes to the doctor, or a big catastrophic event on the 5th of December, right? We all know that claim will not be paid by the end of the year. It is incurred on the 5th of December, but that claim will not be paid until next year sometime. Probably March or April, how the medical billing goes, right? reconciliation process, all that. So under a 12-12, if we were going to renew you with another 12-12 contract, there is going to be a gap in that coverage, meaning that that incurred date of 12/5, December 5th, and then getting paid in the new contract year, the old contract's gone. So like this new contract does not cover that incurred claim.
We got it.
And
So
costs go up, okay.
so there is a gap there, right? That you would be liable for 100% of that claim. It falls all on your lap. There's no coverage for that from the insurance carrier.
And that's going from 12/12 to another
To
12/12.
another 12-12.
Yeah.
So the reason why you put a 24-12 in place is because the 24 represents retroing back or a look back of an additional 12 months. So basically what we would have now is anything that was incurred late in this year would still be paid under the new contract because we are looking back all the way to 1/1/24. So any claim that has happened this year that has been incurred this year will be paid next year, no matter what, because we have that look back period. So there's the protection of the city on that side. There's the protection of the employee on that side, obviously, as well. So they call that first year an immature contract, and now we are building out a mature contract long term to make sure that we're covering all claims that are incurred. So that's why there is that load for that contract change. And it's something that happens with every carrier, no matter what plan. If you're going to go on a platform like this or go to self-funded, it's going to be that 12-12 is always that first year, and then moving on to something different in concurrent years.
So that claims bucket is always going to be based on what they're paying out regardless of the service year.
The claims bucket resets every year.
Right, but so in this example,
Yes.
there's a date of service of 12/5.
Yep.
Let's say it doesn't get paid until
Claims bucket would still be
February
used.
20 of the following year. That's a current year expense and comes out of that.
Yep,
that
and
year's claim
that's
bucket.
why that reconciliation period
Yeah.
before you get your surplus check back
Right.
happens.
Gotcha.
Delayed.
Okay, thank you.
And we need to act now because time is running and you need.
Yeah, again, I think the pressing issue was to get this in front of you guys for an approval of renewal or any other discussion around it, because as we hit here November, and we want to do open enrollment still, we need to make sure all the online portals are updated, everything's ready to go for the employees, so that we can do open enrollment at a time where we're not pressed at the end of the year. So just making sure that we get things in front of you, because I think the next council meeting was going to be a little time before that happened, 14th or something. So
Yeah, 14th.
yeah, wanted to make sure that we had more, basically almost half a month lead time to make sure everything's in place.
And you'll have the dental and vision ready for the November council meeting. So,
Should be.
yeah.
Fingers crossed. Usually like beginning of November.
And that is an update to this chart, or is it something we?
That would be separate. Something you haven't seen yet. Yep.
Okay.
This is just strictly on the medical side.
Some simple questions
Sure.
here for me. I'm looking at the plans, and it talks about employee plus spouse, employee plus child, employee plus children.
Yep.
I don't see an employee plus spouse plus children. I'm assuming that's when you say a child, that covers all three.
Yeah, that would be that was a mistake on that one. It should be family. So if you look below, they did include it. It should be
Oh, I
called
see.
family.
I
Yes,
see it.
correct.
Okay, so it's just in the PPO we're looking at.
Yep.
What do we pay? What's the city share we pay right now, Aaron? Is that
60, I think.
60%? Okay.
I think that you guys upped it from last year from 40 to 60, is what I looked.
So, so
The year before you were paying 40.
Yeah, so that's what I remember. I remember
And
the
that's what
city
I-
share being
That's what
40.
I thought
Being
you
pretty
guys
low.
were paying, and
Yeah.
we looked at it the other day, and it looks
Okay.
like we're actually paying 60% of the plan now.
On the family part of it?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Only?
No.
No,
we
that's
pay
across the board,
60.
every layer.
Every tier.
Every
That's
tier.
what it looks like, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because that 2% increase the city took on.
And I will tell you, just, you know, if you're looking at benchmark of that, I mean, the city is highly generous on paying for other tiers. What we see typically is even minimal payment on the employee only coverage, and then nothing on any of the other tiers, whether that be spouse, dependent, or family. Usually that's on the employee themselves to cover that at 100%. So again, just good on the city for how, you know, taking care of the dependents and the families.
The employee, how much do we cover for the employee only?
100%.
100% of that.
Right.
60 in the subsequent tiers, right?
Okay, so 106, okay, I got you. Preventative cost, God, yeah, I'm thinking of things you do to prevent things. You test, looks, colonoscopy, one of those, which we don't want to talk about colonoscopies, but.
Hey, they're important, man.
I know. But do the employees bear any of that cost for preventative measures?
No, all things that are under the federal, like preventative care are going to be covered at 100%. Now, if I'm trying to remember if there's like co-pays associated, I mean, those would be fine. But as far as the actual bill, like if you went to your annual visit, there's going to be no charge for that. The claim will still hit the plan, right? But for the employee themselves, if they are truly going off of the long laundry list of what preventative services the federal government has put into place, then there's no charge for those.
And just know that there's a difference between preventative and diagnostic.
Correct.
So your example
Yeah.
of colonoscopy, there are
That's
two
diagnostic,
different,
okay,
that can be.
okay.
I would say
It can be either or.
what I always advise employees, whoever is utilizing healthcare, like you do have to be your own health advocate.
Yes.
And so when you go in and you know that you have scheduled your annual preventative wellness visit, you need to make sure and ask questions. First of all, it's okay to ask your doctor, hey, this is what I scheduled. I want to make sure this is what's being billed, right? This is my preventative. And you also can't bring up any other subject, right? You can't go into your preventative wellness and say, well, you know, doc, my knee's been really bothering me too, because the doctor's going to be like, ding, I'm going to code this as something else. This is a different visit than my annual wellness visit, and it's a sick game that they play, but that's how
And
it.
they
That's
ask
how
you,
it is.
it's not fair, but they ask you that. What else can I do?
Now, what else can we do for you?
Right.
What else is bothering you, right, Darren? I'm good, doc.
Do preventative, does that also apply to the families?
Yes. Yep. Anyone covered under the health plan.
100% for the families as well? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Vaccinations.
Yep. Yeah. There's a
That's a laundry list.
long
Yeah.
list of things that are covered.
Okay.
Just for background,
Yeah.
for everybody, that's, with this issue of Anthem playing the or Mercy playing the idea that they might not work out an arrangement. Could you edify everyone on what might be our strategy as
Sure.
we move forward so the
Yeah.
everybody knows, employees
I
know?
would say first things first, you are not losing coverage, right? So you may lose access to certain providers, right? If Mercy and Anthem do not come to an agreement, there would be a loss of in-network providers. That would be Mercy. So I always just want to just reemphasize, we're not losing coverage, right? Because there has been for a couple of clients I've talked with, kind of the sky is falling and we're losing coverage. No, you have coverage, right? The other thing that I would say is if you have individuals, employees who are adamant about going to a Mercy doctor, know that they, again, still have coverage and can access them at an out-of-network benefit. I say that because most people who are going to be going to the doctor are only going to be going to their primary care doctor. Maybe they go to a specialist every once in a while. That out-of-pocket benefit is really not that much more than going to an in-network provider. There's a bump there for sure, but it's not drastic. Right. So I would advise, again, to all the employees, and as we go through open enrollment, this will still be a conversation with employees about, hey, you still have coverage, you can access those, especially if you're going for these things. I would encourage you to continue to go to those doctors if you that's how you feel and you're connected there and you want to do that, that's fine. The main piece that we need to talk about is if you have somebody who is currently pregnant and is going to a Mercy doctor, or is seeking cancer treatment with a Mercy doctor, and something does not come to they don't come to an agreement, know that those coverages or those continuations of care will still be covered as an in-network benefit in 2025 until they finish out their cancer treatment or the pregnancy is done, whatever that is.
Is it for just those two pre-existing conditions, or is there a list also?
There is a list. Those are the two major ones.
Gotcha.
So we'll want to make sure that we get that
Yeah.
list in front of the employees. But those are the two major ones: pregnancy and any kind of cancer care that's ongoing. The other piece would be if they're planning a big surgery in 2025. Maybe they have a hip replacement that's planned for 2025 with a Mercy doctor, and they're adamant that they want that doctor to perform that surgery. I would then advise them to, hey, get with us. We'll help them find an individual health plan that's probably going to be the way that they want to go as far as being double covered. If you want to have that in-network provider with Mercy for something as significant as like a hip surgery or something like that, I would say it's probably going to behoove them to then pay premiums for an individual health plan. Not in every case, because sometimes those individual health plans are going to be super expensive in and of themselves. But again, there are options to have access in network if they so choose.
Yeah.
But I would say my recommendation would be that would be on the employee themselves to then pay for that premium.
Yeah, and there also needs to be an education of employees to know if that were to occur, where now Mercy is out of network, that if their primary care physician is in network, or I'm sorry, is out of network, but they need to be referred to another specialist of some sort, that they ensure that they communicate to their physician that, hey,
I need to find an
I
in-network
need to find, if
specialist
it's Cox, then I
Right.
need to find a Cox
Yes.
facility physician or
Yeah, I would
specialist,
advise
whatever.
that as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this something that happens every year where, someone comes in and out of the contract and we go to the wire? I mean, is this, so
Yeah.
this is no different?
No, and really a couple of years ago, Randy, this happened with Cox and Anthem, and Cox United Healthcare had another thing too. So it is common once those contracts, they're typically about 4-year contracts that they sign, and so you don't really hear about them except for every 4 years or so. And then when you have something like this where you have a behemoth of an insurance carrier in Anthem, right? They have majority of the companies in Missouri are with Anthem, right, in their territory. It's just what it is. They kind of have a monopoly on
And we're
it.
talking about a region here, several states.
Region.
We're not talking about Berry County. We're talking multi-state here, big regions of the country here.
Big region. Now Anthem, we're specifically talking Anthem, Missouri in this, but yes, still a big region as far as stretching from St. Louis all the way over to the west side here with Joplin and so on and so forth. I mean, Anthem controls a big portion of Missouri. They don't control it all because there's Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City that has a carve out as well. But for the most part, Anthem covers most of the state, and they have majority of the employer insurance in the state. Then you have Mercy, who is a multi-state behemoth of a medical provider. So because these two entities are so large in our state, that's why I believe you're seeing so much publicity about it. You're hearing about it more than you have with other contract negotiations that have gone down to the wire. The one with Anthem and Cox a few years ago, they got it signed December 30th.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I thought it was the 31st, but yeah.
31st, 30th. I mean,
No, I
it's there.
remember.
It's
It was-
the end of the year.
It was.
Before that contract was ultimately renewed, right? So it does happen. It's not just Mercy. It's not just Anthem. So it's definitely every healthcare system and every insurance carrier have these contracts in place.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, we have a reputable source for this, but we are also being told that possibly next year it could be another major health insurance company that has the same contract thing with Mercy next year. So as we talk about, what would it behoove us to move? What does that look like? these contract negotiations happen every year, and unfortunately, we don't know what those contracts are. They don't tell us, so we don't know when to plan for the next Anthem contract with Mercy. Again, if they get this one signed, we'll probably estimate another 4 years that contract is going to be good for.
Yeah, do we have a breakdown of how, I mean, because I'm assuming or nearly all the employees are either Cox or Mercy. Do we have a breakdown of how many employees are going to be infected? You know, how many Mercy and how many?
We can
Cox?
definitely look at it from a claims
that a
perspective. I think
privacy?
when we looked at for paid claims, it was 8% of all paid claims was Mercy, I think.
It was around 8 to 10.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's just paid claims. So that's not like belly buttons, right? But that's paid
That's right,
claims.
because it's confidential. Okay, I got you.
Paid claims, not belly buttons.
I've never heard it referred that way, and that's
Oh,
great.
you got yeah. I don't like talking about lives. I talk about belly buttons.
Yeah, we're catching up on the acronyms here.
Any other questions?
No.
What do we plan, is there any way, say, let's assume Mercy doesn't sign a contract with Anthem. Is there any way that the cost for those Mercy employees when they go out of network, whatever the cost, is there any way we can use our savings bucket to defray the cost?
What I would say is when you get this money back, right, whatever the surplus looks like,
So it's really a check for us,
I would
on
say
us.
it would be on you to use that however you please, right? Whether you put it in a separate fund just in case something happens and someone does go out of network and they come to you and they say, hey, I do have this, I am going out of network for this. I don't know if that's opening up a can of worms where it's going to be like people asking for money, or you just say, hey, we're going to set this aside just to protect ourselves as a city instead of just paying it kind of one-offs. Again, that's going to be up to the city and the council how you want to do what you want to do with that money. But yes, you could in theory use that money to help offset that cost.
Or effectively roll it over and help defray the cost of the overall premium. Right. Applying that to next year's premium so we're keeping it
Right. You could
low.
again, we have provided an estimate of what that figure could look like. So as we talk about budgeting and looking at what contribution levels you could have to maybe then lower that premium for the employee themselves,
Right.
it's possible, yes.
So do we have a contingency if Mercy, and then really anyone, do we have a contingency if Mercy doesn't sign with Anthem?
No, I think the contingency at this point would be, hey, you have coverage, you can go out of network if you please. If not, we can help you find a Cox provider.
Now we're talking 8 to 10% of our claims
that was
being
paid.
paid.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Is this the first time we've ever got a surplus in insurance as far as you
This is
know?
the first year we've ever had a plan like
Mhm.
this.
So we never had
In the
an
past.
allocation where to put the cash.
In the past, we
It's
just
just
lost
normal.
it. You pay the premium and it's gone.
There's not been a precedent set
Right.
by the city of how to use the money that would be coming back to you.
Correct.
Yep. You guys are laying the ground.
You're a pioneer.
Yep.
Again.
Again.
Okay.
Big out of box question.
Yeah.
We choose not to go with Anthem.
Mhm.
I understand that we forfeit those surplus dollars. What are the other options? What other
Yeah, I mean,
carriers?
basically at this point it would be to market the account, right?
Okay.
And that's marketing it to the Aetna, Cigna. I would have to check. United Healthcare may not take you back. Typically, when you exit a health insurance carrier, there's about a 2-year time period before they would have you come back to them.
Okay.
I don't know in this situation because with it being so unique if they would take you back or not.
Okay.
And really, we haven't seen the Aetnas and Cignas of the world be very competitive in our region versus even United Healthcare. So,
How's the rate comparison? I mean, I'm assuming these rates are at least comparable or better.
Mhm.
These
Yeah.
are better than, you mentioned Sigma. Can we even get Sigma here?
yeah,
Yes,
we have
we can.
Cigna. Yeah, we have Cigna. Now, I believe it may be. I know this may be. Don't quote me on the record. No, with Aetna, I don't know if Aetna works well with municipalities. I don't know if they quote municipalities due to the different departments that come into play with the city. Some of them just don't like to dance with municipalities.
Sure. So a follow-up to my previous one. We have, according to this, we have 130 subscribers, right?
Yeah.
That's employee count.
Mhm.
But it says current members is 205.
Mhm.
What does the 205 represent?
That's everybody else, all the additional belly buttons that come as a child, a spouse, so on and so
Gotcha.
forth.
Okay, so
Subscribers,
total insured
yep,
is 205.
correct. Your subscribers are your employee base.
Based on that, are there any other options outside the, I'll say the big box carriers that you just mentioned? Are there any cooperatives or other options? I'm
Yeah, I mean, there's
Wide berth there.
there's always different groups or different arrangements that are set up. For example, I'll use NPR for example. Midwest Public Risk has been set up for governmental bodies, right? So there's an option that we could go to Midwest Public Risk. I'm trying to recall who their current network is, because again, they all have to have a network too. So
Right.
what that network looks like, if they're under Anthem paper or not.
I see.
I have another municipality client who is self-funded, and they are with a company called HealthLink, and HealthLink is actually on an Anthem paper. It's under the Anthem umbrella, so they are
Okay.
dealing with the same thing, even though it's called something different. They are still in this mess with Anthem Mercy.
So HealthLink is just the
Yeah.
the processor.
Yeah, it's another network.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the school district, I'm familiar with the cooperative, the music
Yep.
agency. Is that similar to the NPR that you're
It
referring?
is. Music is on the property and casualty side for a consortium or a group
Right.
type product. They also have MET, which is Missouri Educators Trust. That's on the benefit side. There are some groups that have that type of feel or makeup to it. It's all just going to come back to again, what network are they currently utilizing for
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
and members.
Unfortunately, we are, I wouldn't call it the 11th hour, but
Right.
10th is
Right.
pretty close.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Jeff, you've probably seen a bunch of health plans from a bunch of different cities. What's your assessment of this one?
Well, we've done self-funded and all of that. I think, for now, I think this has been a good step for the city in general. I mean, you know, to make that step.
And I think, again, long term, I know, again, I've sat in some of the advisory committee meetings, and I know there's been talk and concern about the city going self-funded in the future, like full-on self-funded. And at this point, I mean, that's not the recommendation of our agency, definitely. We're not prepared for that. I don't know that it would ever make sense for the city to do that without specific guardrails in place, right? With some of those stop-loss things. But this was always about being able to control a little bit more than what you normally can, and then obviously the impact of getting the surplus back when you do run well. So the other part of this is, well, what happens if we don't run well on this plan? Well, then it works exactly like a fully insured plan where you assume none of the risk and Anthem basically pays for it all. So you don't have to worry about if we're running so hot that our claims fund runs out. Anthem's covering you at 100%. Part of the administrative costs that you're having incurred with this is that they're gonna protect you.
I think it's good that now you've got the data and I was on the MOPERM, you know, the
Mhm.
state. I was a board member of that.
So MOPERM is another group,
Okay.
and for the property and
It
casualty
was
side.
it's provided by the state. That's
It's a safety
another-
net, more or less.
Yeah, but the big deal is getting the data. That's a big deal because
It really is.
when you're in the other deal and they don't give you the data, you can't. They've got you.
Mhm.
And then I think that we've got other options which I like from the standpoint of having that $80,000, $100,000 when that comes forward. We could look at, you know, have the employee advisory board and look at it. And there's other
Of
things
how to
make.
apply it, you
And
mean?
yeah, how to
Okay.
apply it and what's the best way.
That's a good
And
idea.
I would like to make one other statement. This is a rich plan in general. Not everybody has as good a plan as this. And that's good.
It is.
Yeah, I mean,
is.
because we care for our employees. And
And I'd like to take it even a little bit further with
Yeah.
short-term disability. I know that's available, but it's, you know, the employee has to
But-
subscribe and to pay the full premium, and it's
So,
very nice
I-
to be able to offer that.
Yeah, employer paid or.
I think it's good to, let's move on, let's see what happens
Yep.
with the Anthem deal and go forward.
So going back to this Anthem plan, we talked about medical, what about prescriptions? Any major changes, no major formulary change?
Nope.
Okay,
Everything stays the same.
okay, good.
And again,
Good.
part of why you would get away from even this type of plan is to maybe have more control over that too.
Yeah,
They still will have you with Optum RX and they will still control that side of it. So they're also know they're making hand over fist on that side too. So they're okay with giving you
don't even want to talk about PBS.
your 100 grand back because they're also making money on the prescription side. So yes.
Well,
not a
you
favorite
brought up
topic.
the employee advisory committee meetings.
Yep.
That's been the major topic of conversation.
Yep.
One of the biggest concerns is the cost of prescriptions. It's
Yep.
been a problem. This isn't an opportunity to make any changes in that realm or.
We
find
could
some
look at
solutions.
what the we'll look at what the formulary looks like and what other option there may be because you can always switch up the formulary, but under this platform we're not going to be able to build our own custom formulary. We're going to be basically give the canned formulary and you pick and choose which one you want. So if there's anything specific that we need to look at, be more than happy to do that. I know I've worked with Aaron. We've tried to get some specifics from some of the employees, and we haven't been provided some of those specifics. So we can't really help fix with things that we don't know what we need to fix.
So,
Part of the issue.
good points, both sides. Do we have that data? Do we know, not the who is getting a certain prescription, but the what? Do we know what drugs are being prescribed to our employees to help
Sure.
us make that formulary choice
Sure.
in a more educated manner?
Yeah, I'm sure we can get all that data for you. For
That
sure,
would be
we
very
can go
helpful.
off
And
of
that could ultimately help, because if there's something that we're seeing our employees actually being prescribed, something that is not in our current formulary, but there is one that covers more,
Right.
then that can actually help
Yeah.
tremendously. So good question, good point.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing up going to the advisory committee. I know we've had discussions in the past about different programs or incentives or whatever it looks like. I think there was the boot, reimbursement or whatever for, people buying boots, like things like that. Like there's always
An acronym.
there's always something. No acronym. Real boots. So there's always stuff like that committee has done a great job of like bringing forth ideas in front of administration and then ultimately in front of council. So I would advise that as well. And again, who am I to say? But yeah, use that group. It's been in place for a little while now. I think it's starting to hum and get its kind of flow. And again, I think utilizing that platform to pitch, hey, we're going to have some funds. What does it look like from your perspective, employees, to do with that money? So
Agreed.
I have one question, clarification, because you were asking about data and you said you have data sets. When you're talking about employees' benefits, if they're asking for a tier 1 drug that you're not covering, are you going to see that in your data set because you're not paying it?
We should be able to pull that data. Yeah, we
So
can
you can still see
definitely.
you're not paying on it.
We could probably see what is being denied or anything like that too, as far as coverage goes, and
'cause
pull
you-
that.
Because you should see it as a claim
Mm-hmm.
that's then denied, because that'll
Yeah.
be on an.
It'll be a
EOB.
denied claim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tier-
At least I'd hope to see that.
Tier 1 drug, not marijuana or something like that? No, I'm teasing. What's a tier 1 drug? I'm kidding.
Those are your simple, more generic type drugs, right? They're not
Okay.
going to be anything specialty. But if for whatever reason something was not covered on tier 1, like we could look at it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay.
I know a lot of stuff, I'm not familiar with that. I've heard, what sort of governmental group insurance is MIRMA?
MIRMA is something, again, very similar to what we're talking about. They are a little different where they don't actually work with any sort of broker agencies or agents. Everything is direct with MIRMA. Their health plan is relatively young. They've basically been involved in the property casualty work comp setting for a very long time. The health plan that I've experienced hasn't been performing super well. There's been a number of groups that have come to us asking about reviewing it, and ultimately we end up taking them out of that, or they take themselves out prior to us getting there. It is a similar type program as far as group purchasing, right, or pooling together. It's still a very young product at this point.
Okay.
I don't think that they fully have fleshed it out.
I know from just being around meetings and state meetings and
Yep.
stuff, I've
You'll
heard
see
the name,
MIRMA.
and I know there's several of them that use it, but I have no clue to know anything about it really.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you're reading inside all the definitions and all that stuff. Are you satisfied with the way it's written? And all the
Oh yeah,
definitions
I'm
and
a
all the things?
lawyer for sure. No, I
Anything-
I don't have any qualms with it.
Anything renegotiable towards the future with anything?
I
As
think
far as-
everything's negotiable.
Well, I get that, but I mean, do you feel like something we should negotiate?
I don't think that
now?
there's any chip that we haven't turned over
Nothing
yet.
really jumps out at me
Yeah.
either, as I read through all this. Okay.
But yeah, I was satisfied with the initial negotiation of the
Yeah.
percentage, but other than that,
Okay.
I think that whatever we do, this bucket that we're gonna get back should not go to the general fund. It should go to cost now or in the future when it comes to premium.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
well, I think I think everyone agrees that. I just had to say that out
I
loud.
think well, you can explore that. You said general fund, but I think what you're saying is it should be looked at to potentially benefit the employees.
Yes.
Be
That-
reallocated.
Reallocate
That
the
it's
benefit.
not going, that's what I think.
That's what I'm doing. It's
Yeah.
okay. Well, you save the money. Okay, we're gonna have the claims. Okay, here's how we're gonna. So in the future, we use that to bring down premiums. We could pay
And
65 or something.
And keeping in mind that this is a evolving target and you have to protect
Right.
Understand?
Protect them and all of us, the city's
Exactly.
financial
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to again benefit the employee themselves, whatever that looks like, but also set some aside as that claims bucket on this platform does reset yearly, right? So making sure maybe there's some offset in a claims fund here just in case too.
So we need a general motion
Yeah.
to proceed.
Ken, you're the best motion guy I know.
You worked your way up there, buddy.
Who worked your way up?
I don't know how to take that. I'll move that we renew the City of Monett's medical insurance plan with Anthem for the
I'll
25
second.
calendar year.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Mayor Randy Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Ken Gaspar,
Aye.
Commissioner Darren Indovina.
Aye.
Oh, Ken, what I meant is as far as parliamentarians, you're it.
Not offended. Not offended
Good,
at all.
please don't be
Good
offended.
motion, man.
Yep, that's right.
All right,
And I
do we have a
haven't even
motion
read
to
that.
adjourn?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Roll call, please.
Mayor Randy Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Ken Gaspar,
Aye.
Commissioner Darren Indovina.
Aye.
All right, thank you all. Ryan, thanks for coming down here.
No, thanks. Thanks for
I
being
mean,
back.
I'm glad you were here to answer some of these tough
Yeah.
questions.